second concentration camp, and was a psychiatrist, matter of fact, before he was ever captured. And he spent 7 years in concentration camps, most of the time seeing how people responded to what the world gave them, how they handled death, how they handled knowing within 5 or 6 or 7 hours they were going to be executed, what they did to respond to that. And this is one of the things that he writes about in his book. Fascinating movie book. It's a quick read. You can read it in about 2 or 3 hours. It says everything can be taken from us but one thing. The greatest freedom that you've ever had can never be removed from you. The greatest freedom we've ever had is the freedom of choice. There is no freedom given to anybody in the world greater than the freedom of choice. Nobody can piss you off unless you choose to let them. Nobody can take anything from you unless you choose for that to happen. I'm talking about mentally, psychologically. Interesting concept. The freedom of choice, the greatest freedom you have. You decide what kind of day you're going to have. Nobody else decides that. You decide that. You decide what your output's going to be. You decide what your life's going to be. Nobody makes those choices except you. I learned a long time ago that once people get in control of making those choices for themselves, they make a whole lot better decisions. They make better long-term decisions. And they think about the futurity of current decisions. In other words, if I make that decision today, how does that make my life look 6 months, 8 months, 10 years down the road? Interesting. Another thing that Frankl introduced us to was the concept of what he called mental models. The idea that whatever you perceive the world to be like is what the world's like. The models that you define for your world define your world. I know people who have grown up side by side each other all their lives, spent together, gone to the same schools, lived in the same neighborhood, and see the world in 2 totally different ways. Totally different models of how it works and what it works and what's important to them. Let me give you an example of a mental model. In this country, we had a model of what hijacking was like prior to 9/11. Hijacking there were 46 hijackings between 1985 and 2001. Interesting concept. Where did most of those airplanes go that were hijacked? Most of them went to Cuba. We used to send one used to go to Cuba about every 60 or 70 days, and it was a pain in the butt when you got hijacked. Because you know it's just going to be at least 8 hours late getting home that night. And the good news is they might let you off the plane in Nevada and you can buy some cigars, but most of the time they would not let you get off the plane. What a pain in the ass hijacking was. And so the travelers in the world, people like me who fly a lot, had this mental model of what a hijacking was going to be. So when the hijackings took place on 9/11, it was, oh crap, here we go again. I'm going to be late, I'm going to be late. Yeah, really late. Our mental model changed after that day. Actually, our mental model changed during that day because the 4th group that were hijacked made something happen about it. They realized, they knew what was going on with the others, they changed their mental model. How long does it take to change a mental model? Oh, only hours, but you have to be cognizant of the fact that your model is out of sequence, that it's not right. Your model of where you're going to go. So I believe that your internal mind defines your external world. I really do. And I think the more time you spend thinking about what your external world should look like, the closer you get to what that world